have just a very accomplished panel here today with lots of different perspectives on this industry. So let's introduce our panel. We've got Kazim Atilla, the CEO and founder of fan engagement platform IQONIQ. Also, Jose Luis Rose-Medina, the Senior Director, Corporate Partnerships and Licensing, Euroleague Basketball. Misha Schur, Global Vice President of MediaCom for Sports and Entertainment, and Tyson Henly, the Chief Commercial Officer of AS Monaco. So great to have you all here, and I hope I was very close in pronouncing everybody's name right. Current events. So we've seen these police brutality protests going on all over the world. They've especially been going on here in the U.S. So there's a strong reaction to this in the U.S. in several cities. Not just to this, but systematic racism. That whole thing has been brought up again. And we've seen a lot of these sports apparel brands in particular be very vocal about this. Nike comes to mind. They've been very out in front about this. What role do you think sports should play in these type of political events? It seems kind of dangerous to me because it's very controversial. What do you guys think? We'll start with Misha.
I think we've hit a point now where there's you can't be on the fence with these things, and I think that what we're realizing is that as much as some people want to believe that sport should just be sport and nothing else, sport is a major part of society. It's a reflection of society in many ways, and I think because of the profile of sport and because of the profile of the athletes, there is an incredible opportunity for the industry and entertainment as well to use the platform to to drive some of the social change that we want to see in our society. So I think it's been great. I think we've seen Premier League came back yesterday, the types of statements they make. We've seen talent, some of the things that talent have been doing with LeBron James and others. Phenomenal. I think it's amazing for sports people, for sports organizations to use their platform.
Now, Jose, we were just talking about sports companies, apparel companies, leagues, and so forth, weighing in on some of these political events, very heated political events going on globally. Nike comes to mind. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, obviously, hearing Misha, I absolutely agree, and that's one of our core messages. Obviously, there's zero tolerance towards what has happened, and social exclusion as a whole is a big part of the messaging that are part of our core values. And to Misha's point earlier before, I agree with the fact that sports shouldn't only be a platform that communicates these messages, but actually acts upon them. We take that very seriously, as we don't believe we're custodians only of our brand. We're absolutely also custodians of our community. So we have a social outreach program, but also a program that literally goes into the heart of our communities, and we play in 13 different countries where over 200 social coaches are taught to talk to kids in their communities every single year. And as I said, the problems in these 13 different countries where we play are very different, but social exclusion is one that happens in all of them.
So, Kazim, what has been IQONIQ's approach to this?
Great question. I hope I can give a great answer on that, Jane. The slogan of IQONIQ stands for "Become One." This is definitely a very important moment to address very important issues when we look at this kind of stuff. But to be honest, this is not new. This has been going on for 10, 20, 50, 100 years. And everyone has tried many things. And as Misha said as well, you can put something on your sleeve, as you have seen, when the football started again, they are kneeling, to show the gesture. But you know what? It has to be more than gesture. It has to be action. You can talk about it, but if you don't do the right action, what is the point about it? Then you could at least say, oh, but I talked about it, I support it. It has to be done more. Myself, I'm born in Turkey. I was 4 years old when I come to Holland. And we were living in an area where there was prominently Dutch people, and we were new, and a foreigner. There were not many foreigners, so I grew up with it, right? I grew up with very soft of racism. It wasn't because in schools there was educated about hey, we are all together. There are no differences. And I believe it has to start with education.
It's funny you mentioned about sports being a language, because I have a friend who's Indian and always talks about when they play the Pakistanis in cricket, how everybody gets along, but other times they don't. They're bitter enemies. And he felt like if they would do more sports, that would solve some of their political issues. So it's interesting you bring that up. But let's wrap up with Tyson here on this subject. So as football club with community beliefs, how do you see this issue, Tyson?
Yeah, I mean, I think, to be fair, the guys have said, most of the things that I completely support. I mean, it goes without saying that as a club and as a major European football club, we're completely supportive of the anti-racism campaigns, the principles, any kind of prejudice. It's very much something we stand against, and we support campaigns against this area. So I think that would be understood. I think Kazim raised a really good point. It's sport. Ironically, what should sport do? Sport, I think there's a balance between how much responsibility or not sport should take, but sport does have such an intense spotlight. And the individuals we've seen, within that, we've seen recently voiced, for example, people like Marcus Rashford, Raheem Sterling, who I've worked with closely in the past in various ways, that they are ambassadors in another way. And I think sport gives the spotlight to a wide element of the population for the right reason, for values, for intensity. I think it's right at the right moment, in the right way, to use that spotlight as an advantage to kind of deflect or reflect into society.
Thank you all so much. I mean, I think we all agree this is a rapidly changing industry, and it's going to be interesting, if nothing else. So I really appreciate your time and being so generous with your expertise today.